Welcome to Mr. Night Story Channel. Story number 1. The old house on Shadow Hill's been empty for decades. Paint peeled to white flakes, windows filled with plants and mildew. In the last October, Alexa and her friends dared each other to go inside. One night, no phones, just candles. Proof of bravery for their social feed. The front door was already open and the air was wet and foul. Felt like the doors and the windows were closed for years. As they were walking, their footsteps echoed a wrong offbeat steps, like someone was already walking beside them. The kitchen, the living room, and the bedrooms were empty, with no one on site. "This place is really creepy and old," Ryan said. Hannah agreed, her eyes fixed on something behind the flames. There was a photograph on the wall. Dustless. For figures, 3 of them were children with someone tall behind them, and another face, smudged like it had been erased with a thumb. As they stared, the photo seemed to change. One of the children was now standing slightly apart, and his mouth got open wide. They laughed it off. Nervous laughter. Then they went upstairs where things got worse. The same room repeated like a creepy no-way-out loop. No matter which way they turned, they always ended up in the same hallway and the same door. Hannah vanished all of a sudden. Alexa and Ryan turned, and she was gone. No scream. No sound. Her candle was rolling on the floor, with the flame snuffed. Then Alexa walked through a door in the house, and didn't come back either. Ryan got nervous and stressed. He ran down the stairs looking for a way out of the house. The last thing he heard was his own name in muffled screams. The direction of the voices came from the basement. He went over there right away. Then he found Hannah and Alexa in the basement tied up to a chair screaming for help. A dark figure appeared right away saying, "You're next." Ryan was fearless at that point and grabbed a metal tube from the floor to fight the dark figure and pushed the fight out of the basement to the kitchen where he grabbed a knife. He used the knife against the dark figure and succeeded with his plan. He didn't waste a single second after that and went back to the basement to untie Hannah and Alexa. They ran away from the house and never looked back. The house on Shadow Hills is still there, waiting for the next curious victims. Story number 2. The Crawley house had been empty since 1954. People said it was cursed, that the last owner, Meredith Crawley, was obsessed with turning back time. After her son drowned in the river, she locked herself inside and never seen again. On one night, Anna slipped through the rusted gate and into the crumbling old mansion. Inside, silence. Cobwebs draped the ceiling. Wallpaper sagged. And in the parlor stood a single object untouched by age. A massive vintage clock. That ticked loudly but in reverse. 11:59, 11:58, 11:57. Anna thought that it was maybe a mechanical issue or maybe someone messed with it for the sake of a ghost story. Then she heard a whisper saying, "Keep watching it ticking." But as the clock ticked backwards, something changed. The furniture repaired itself. The dust vanished. Candle flames reappeared. And the whole room seemed to rewind. Suddenly, a figure stood by the fireplace, a woman in a faded dress, combing a boy's hair. Anna blinked. The woman was Meredith Crawley. The boy was her alleged son. The clock ticked. 11:42, 11:41, 11:40. Anna stepped forward, out of curiosity. As she did, the air thickened. Her limbs became heavy. Her memories, her parents' face, and her own name were fading away quickly from her memory. Tick. The boy turned and smiled. "She brought you here," he said. "Who?" He pointed at the clock. "She's trying again." Anna felt herself being pulled toward it. The glass face now showed her reflection, but younger. Her hair was longer. She was 10, maybe 9. She looked empty. The boy whispered, "You'll be part of her time." She screamed, but no sound came. The clock hand spun faster, now 11:10, 11:09, 11:08. The next day, the Crawley house was still silent, still crumbling. But now, if you stand in the parlor, you'll see the clock ticking slowly backwards and 2 children playing quietly near the rusty gate. One of them looks just like Anna. Her parents were calling her name from the gate, but she didn't recognize them or even her own name. Once you go into that house, every history fades away, and the clock won't reverse it. Story number 3. Everyone says that the house at the end of the street is cursed. It had been abandoned since the 1960s, after the last family vanished. No signs of struggle, no bodies. There was an untouched dinner on the table, and a single word carved into the wall above the stairs. Stay. Of course someone had to ignore it. That someone was a girl named Jess. Fearless and freshly girl dared by her friends to spend one night inside. As soon as she entered the house, the front door closed on its own. She wandered through the dusty rooms. Toys were shattered on the living room floor. In the dining room, plates sat on the table with moldy food on them. One chair was pulled out, like someone got up from the table. She heard footsteps upstairs, calling out, "Who's there?" But no answer, so she followed the sounds from upstairs. Each step felt heavier than the last, like she was walking into water at the top of the stairs. A hallway stretched longer than it should have. A door cracked open on its own. Inside the room there was a crib, toys, and a music box. The music box began to play on it its own. Behind her, the music stopped. A soft whisper filled the room. "You didn't stay." The door slammed shut. The next morning the police officers never found Jess, and her phone was discovered on the steps still recording. The last thing on the audio was a child's voice saying, "You didn't stay." The officers tried to rewind the tape, but the only thing that was recorded was the child's 3 words. Jess' body was never found, and that house remains as an unsolved mystery. Story number 5. No one went near the house on Widow's Hill. Long ago, it was a grand estate, standing proud with its wraparound porch and towering windows. But for the past 60 years, it had decayed in silence, shutters dangling, paint peeling, and ivy devouring its walls. Some claimed to see lights flickering inside at night, even though the place had no power. Others heard the piano playing sometimes. Ben and his sister Ellie never believed the stories until their ball bounced through the rusty gate in one summer evening. The sky darkened too quickly as soon as they slipped through. After only a few seconds, the gate got shut behind them. Inside the house, there was a wallpaper of a person that was probably lived in the house before. He moved his eyes towards them as soon as they walked down the hallway. Then they saw a ladder that leads into a dusty and old attic. In the attic, they found a piano that was playing from time to time, according to the stories. Dustless and open, waiting for anyone to play on it. Ellie pressed a key. A low note won. It didn't stop. It built louder and louder until it wasn't music anymore, but a voice that turned from a whisper, slowly to a scream. They ran away from the house as fast as they could. But the gate wouldn't open. Right behind them, in the window upstairs, there was a woman in a black robe that watched them, and her face was old and creepy, with a malicious smile. The scream from earlier was hers. She yelled from the window, "Hey, you two, come back here." She'd been waiting for someone to step foot in her property, but eventually the kids were lucky and found a hole in the gate behind the trees from their right side. They ran away to the hole and never played with the ball close to that house again. Story number 6. The Curse of Maple Creek Mansion. The mansion stood abandoned for decades. A girl named Kiara was not afraid of creepy places. It was a mental challenge for her to test her ability by surviving through fear. "I bet you won't last an hour in there," her classmate Jake dared her. Kiara was stubborn and tired of being treated like a scared little kid. She crossed the crumbling gate as the sun went down. The air became colder as soon as she stepped onto the porch. Inside the house, there was old furniture that got left for decades, filled with spider webs and a bunch of junk in it. Kiara made her way upstairs with her flashlight, and then she noticed that something was odd. Every room upstairs had the doors open, except for one. The door at the end of the hall was closed tight. Kiara was curious, so she reached for the knob. She hesitated, but then decided to try turn it. The door cracked open. Inside that room there was a bunch of skulls and cryptic stuff and messages. The wall was sprayed with red graffiti saying, "Don't wake her. All of a sudden the door slammed shut behind her. The room went completely dark, and then she heard a voice right behind her saying, "Didn't you read the wall writing?" Kiara was spooked right away and ran for her life out of the room and out of the house. She learned that she shouldn't go to those places by herself, or shouldn't go at all, no matter how her mates or friends will perceive her.